Hello, what's up guys? This is Felipe from the Noob Trader, and in today's video I just want to kind of talk a little bit about all the crazy price action we've been seeing in gold recently. Um, we finally broke past the 1830 barrier, as we can see here, a price level that we've been eyeing for the longest of time as gold bulls. And you know, I'm just going to quickly talk about what's been going on, what happened last Friday, where despite the NFP being very strong for the dollar, we saw a huge shoot up in gold price, and then now what's really triggered this break past 1830, and what I kind of want to see over the next coming days as gold bulls to see if we can actually push towards 1900. Currently, by the way, I'm in the UK, so that's why I haven't been doing any videos, but now I have everything set up here. I'm going to be here for the next few months, so hopefully I'll be able to do more videos over the coming days. Okay, so first of all, as you can see, I mean, right now we're trading at 1842, but gold shot up basically to 1870, right? Which is just absurd when you really think about it. And I guess the main question is like, what really happened over the last few days, right? Last week on Friday, with the NFP data came out, and the data was very, very positive for the U.S. economy. It showed that there was, like we were kind of talking about previously on the channel, that the economy was slowly starting to recover from the COVID pandemic, or the Delta variant, let's say, and people were starting to take jobs again, right? The ADP data did kind of foreshadow what we eventually saw in the NFP. But typically when we get a strong NFP report, we see gold plummet, right? But actually what we saw on that particular day, which was on this candle here, we saw gold shoot past 1800, okay? Shoot past the 1810 barrier, and it was pretty clear that we were going to start marching towards 1830 at that point. And what really caused that? Well, the reality is that what caused that wasn't necessarily the NFP, but it was also the news coming out on the same day where oil prices, again, were at super high levels, okay? And what does that essentially mean? That inflation is still a massive problem. And when that news came out about the oil, etc., and everything going on there, it was pretty clear that, especially with the CPI data coming today, right? That came out just recently, that inflation was still a problem. It doesn't matter how the jobs data is, but ultimately with inflation skyrocketing so high as it is right now, um, yeah, the oil prices was just a clear sign to the market that, hey, um, we need to be bullish on gold because this inflation is just getting worse. And if anything, that oil news data that came out on Friday, or the oil report, really foreshadowed what we got today in the CPI data, right? And just in case you aren't aware what we saw in the CPI, the core CPI was higher than the forecast expected by 0.2%. But most importantly, year on year, the CPI for October was 6.2%. 6.2%. Okay, that's basically inflation rate. As we know, as we've talked about on this channel before, the ideal inflation rate based on kind of Keynesian macroeconomics is 2% for a modern economy, right, with government intervention. 6.2% is fucking crazy, okay? And we all feel it, right? Doesn't matter where you are in the world right now. Prices of shit is going up. Food is skyrocketing. Oil is so expensive. Used vehicles, whatever it may be, everything is fucking expensive. And why is this happening? Well, the government will tell you it's a supply chain issue. But of course we know actually deep down that it's also all this bullshit monetary policy that's been going on, right? This is just the effects of that. The government basically implementing a stupid ass monetary policy, frankly, way before COVID. Okay, like this has been going on for a while, but COVID only just exacerbated the problem. And just to put it into perspective as to how bad the current inflation problem is, if you look at historical inflation rates, we haven't seen a 6.2% inflation rate since 1990, right? I mean, the closest we've gotten in more recent times is in 2008 during the whole, the economic depression, right? We were reaching inflation rates of about 5.6%. What was the government doing at that time as well? Just printing shit tons of money. But this is just crazy, and it doesn't look like it's going to stop. And consequently, when we have this inflation problem at the same time with a government that is not willing to tackle the problem, right? What have we seen over the last months, if not the last couple of years, right, during this COVID pandemic? Powell didn't want to address the big fucking elephant in the room that was inflation. And when he's not willing to address it by raising interest rates or doing something that you're supposed to do based on economic theory, the price of gold is going to fucking shoot up. And that was the catalyst that we really needed to get past this 1830 barrier, right? Um, this problem is just not going away. And if anything, though, um, now I'm starting to get a little bit concerned that the inflation problem is just so bad now that actually Powell does have to do something about it. When you start looking at the historical inflation rates here and you realize that just how bad it really is, I'm starting to actually get a little bit concerned, not going to lie, as a gold bull, that Powell is just going to have to address this now. Like it's getting overboard, and I don't think that he's going to, like, you know, as the chairman of the Fed, like, when it's so obviously bad, when it's so obviously not transitory anymore, the inflation problem, it's I'm getting a little bit concerned, not going to lie, that in the next Powell press conference, he's going to say something serious, because 6.2% is just not okay, right? But anyway, in terms of the short term, what are we now really going to try and look for, right? Because this is some big news. Okay, this was a really big data release for gold. And of course, at this point, we have people taking profits here. So as we always talk about on the channel, what we really want to see is for us to now turn this 1830 resistance into support. That's, I think, what we really want to see. People are clearly taking profits now. I mean, gold has just fucking shot through the roof. People made shit tons of money on this. Okay, so we have to remember that this is still a market. So let's see if we can actually make some support here before we continue higher and slowly trek towards 1900. Okay, but I just want to start to say now that with this inflation report being so bad, I think it's really important for us to also remember that as things get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse, the government or the Fed can't just continue to push it back anymore. And the worse it gets, the higher chance there is for the Fed to do something a lot more drastic. Okay. Do I think that the next time Powell speaks that he's going to go full AWOL like that? It's really hard for me to say because, I mean, typically I would just say no, he's just going to leave this, just let it linger. The inflation problem, just let it linger like a bad fart. But I think this was a bad report, and I think we're also reaching to a point where we're kind of getting to an unprecedented situation. I mean, I'm only 31 years old. I've never seen a situation like this in my lifetime that especially since I've started studying markets. So it's really hard to also kind of look back and, in the past and try to figure out, like, what on earth is Powell going to do, right? What on earth is the Fed going to do to tackle this problem? Because, hey, if they start saying that they're going to raise interest rates in, like, beginning of 2022 now, because of how bad the inflation is, also on top of with the good NFP data and the good jobs data, right? That can obviously turn the market on, or the gold market on its head pretty quickly. Okay, so it's just something that we have to remember. My feeling is that Powell is still going to want to see a few more months of good job reports before he does anything crazy, which probably means we're going towards 1900 here, okay? Once we start making 1830 support, et cetera, right? Understanding that this is a market. But I do think we're going to be testing towards 1900, especially if we make 1830 support. The fundamentals, I mean, how long have I sat on this channel now? When it was at 1750, God, that was such an incredible price because the fundamentals are too strong in the favor of gold right now. And now we're really seeing this play out. So anyway, hope you enjoyed this video, or hope you enjoyed this kind of rambling analysis. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below. I'll try and answer it. If you like the content, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you in the next video.